You know, there's one thing that really surprises me every time I talk to seniors who are struggling with weakness, fatigue, or slow recovery. They've been told for years that the solution is fish oil or omega-3s. Every magazine, every TV commercial, every doctor's office poster says the same thing. Take your omega-3, yes? They're great for your heart, your brain, your joints. And yes, that's true to some degree. But here's what nobody tells you. Omega-3s don't do much when your muscles are disappearing. In fact, there are two simple vitamins, not supplements, you've never heard of, not expensive powders, but two vitamins that can literally reverse muscle loss overnight when your body starts using them properly. And most seniors have never even heard that these two are the missing keys. The truth is, you can eat clean. You can walk every morning and still lose muscle if these vitamins are missing. And when you add them back in the right way, the body starts rebuilding, like it remembers how to be young again. Imagine getting out of bed and not feeling that stiffness or trembling when you climb stairs. Imagine your legs feeling firm and balanced, not like they'll give way any second. That's not a fantasy, it's biochemistry. Your body's natural repair switch turning back on. Let's talk about the first one, because it's so underrated it almost feels like a secret. This vitamin is what allows your body to actually use protein properly. Most people eat their chicken, eggs, or protein shakes thinking that's what builds muscle. But the truth is, protein without this vitamin is like trying to build a house without nails. The material is there, but nothing holds it together. I'm talking about vitamin B12. If you're over 60, your stomach's ability to absorb B12 drops dramatically, especially if you've ever taken acid reflux medications or metformin for blood sugar. And when that happens, your red blood cells can't carry oxygen efficiently, your energy plummets, and your muscles stop repairing after even small activity. You might feel tired after just sweeping the floor, or you sit down after carrying groceries and feel like your legs are made of sand. That's not age. That's B12 deficiency quietly robbing you of strength. What makes B12 so fascinating is how fast it can change things once you restore it. When your cells start receiving enough oxygen again, your mitochondria, those little energy factories, wake up. Suddenly your muscles respond to signals again. You feel that spark that's been missing. People who think they're just getting old start realizing it wasn't aging. It was cellular starvation. And when you fix it, even in 1 or 2 nights, you start feeling that overnight recovery, the kind you used to have decades ago. The next morning you wake up and your legs don't ache the same way. You bend down to pick something up and realize, wait a second, I didn't groan that time. It's subtle at first, but real. Now, before I tell you the second vitamin, I want you to really understand something. The fitness industry makes billions every year selling muscle, building formulas, protein powders, and anti-aging pills, but almost none of them talk about restoring the communication between your brain and your muscles. And that's where vitamin D3 comes in, not just for bones, but for muscle control, nerve coordination, and strength regulation. Vitamin D3 literally acts like a power switch between your brain and your muscles. When your levels drop, which happens in almost every senior because sunlight exposure and absorption decline, your muscles stop responding efficiently. You can tell when this happens. Your balance starts getting worse. You start tripping over things more often. You hesitate before taking a step because your body feels slower. That's not just muscle weakness. That's vitamin D3 deficiency messing with your neuromuscular system. And here's what's even more interesting. Studies show that when D3 levels rise back to healthy levels, around 60 to 80 mnL, muscle fibers start thickening again. The body literally begins to rebuild fast, twitch fibers that were shrinking. These are the fibers responsible for power, speed, and coordination. That's why so many people say after a few days of correcting vitamin D3, they suddenly feel steadier on their feet. Their grip feels stronger, or they can walk longer without feeling drained. The muscle repair happens quietly at night while you sleep, and that's why some people describe it as waking up stronger. When B12 and D3 work together, they form one of the most powerful anti-sarcopenia pairs nature ever designed. Sarcopenia, the gradual loss of muscle mass with age, isn't just about weak arms or legs. It's about losing metabolic power. The less muscle you have, the slower your metabolism, the higher your blood sugar, the weaker your heart, and the faster your energy fades. But when these vitamins are replenished, metabolism reignites. The body starts burning fat more efficiently. Blood sugar stabilizes. You start sleeping deeper because your muscles release less cortisol during recovery. That's why I said, reverse muscle loss overnight. It's not marketing talk, it's physiology. When cortisol drops and repair hormones rise, your muscles knit themselves stronger while you rest. Let's talk about where these vitamins come from and why supplements alone don't always fix the problem. With B12, it's not just about taking a pill. You need the methylated form, methylcobalamin, because that's the active form your cells recognize. The cheap cyanocobalamin kind in most pharmacies barely absorbs, especially if your stomach acid is low. That's why some seniors feel nothing even after months of B12 tablets. You need sublingual or liquid methylcobalamin taken under the tongue where it can go straight into the bloodstream, and ideally combine it with folate. Not folic acid, but methylfolate, because they work as partners in red blood cell formation. With vitamin D3, the key is absorption. You can take all the D3 you want, but without magnesium, your body can't convert it into the active form. Magnesium acts like the ignition key for D3. So if you're taking vitamin D and still feel no improvement, it might be because your magnesium is too low. That's why foods like pumpkin seeds, avocados, and leafy greens should be your daily companions. Or you can use magnesium glycinate. It's gentle on the stomach and works beautifully. And there's one more thing to keep in mind of fat. Vitamin D3 is fat soluble, meaning it needs dietary fat to be absorbed. Taking your D3 with your morning oatmeal won't do much unless you add something like olive oil, eggs, or avocado. That's why some people swear by taking D3 with dinner. The higher fat content of that meal helps absorption skyrocket. Within days, your energy starts to stabilize and your muscles recover better after even small movements. Let's connect the dots for a second. Imagine you're getting ready for bed. You've had your light dinner. Maybe some vegetables, a piece of salmon, a drizzle of olive oil. You take your D3 with that meal and your B12 before brushing your teeth. You get in bed, lights off. And as you sleep, your body starts using those nutrients to repair cells that were lagging. Mitochondria start generating more ATP. Muscle fibers start synthesizing new protein strands. And your brain resets the communication with your muscles through calcium and magnesium channels. By morning, you feel subtly different. The fatigue isn't as heavy. Your muscles don't feel as tight. That's what overnight really means. Not instant magic, but your natural repair rhythm restored. Most seniors think they can't rebuild muscle after a certain age. But that's one of the biggest myths in modern health. Muscle is a living tissue. It never stops responding. It only stops responding when it's not given the right signals. And vitamins like B12 and D3 are those signals. Think of them like the buttons for your body's rebuilding program. When they're missing, your body stays in low power mode, trying to survive instead of thrive. But when they're restored, your system reactivates growth mode. Better coordination, more energy, improved endurance, and even clearer thinking, because your brain depends on the same vitamins to function properly. Here's something else that shocks people. Did you know that low B12 and D3 levels are both linked to depression and poor sleep? That's right. When your muscles are weak and your energy is low, your mood follows. But as soon as your body starts repairing again, serotonin levels rise, your sleep deepens, and your motivation to move returns. Movement creates more muscle activity, and that activity keeps cortisol down. And suddenly, the cycle of aging starts reversing itself. And let me say this clearly, omega-3s aren't bad. They just aren't the main driver for muscle health. They help reduce inflammation. Yes, but if your body doesn't have the building blocks, like D3 for activation and B12 for oxygenation, inflammation reduction alone won't rebuild tissue. You can't repair a building by just removing smoke. You need bricks and energy. That's what these vitamins provide. That's why people who focus only on omega-3s often stay stuck in the same fatigue loop. They might have less pain, but not more strength. You want both relief and renewal. You can start seeing changes in less than a week. I've seen people who could barely carry groceries suddenly start walking faster and sleeping better once they optimize these two nutrients. The trick is consistency and proper pairing. You don't need massive doses. You need active, absorbable forms, and you don't need to overthink it. Get some sunlight every day for at least 15 minutes on your skin. Add healthy fats to your diet and use D3 with magnesium. Then make sure your B12 levels are restored through sublingual methylcobalamin or B complex support. Keep your protein intake balanced, around 1 gram per kilogram of body weight, and your body will start rebuilding muscle naturally. It's really that simple, and yet most people overlook it. The reason is because the symptoms of low B12 and D3 sneak up slowly. You don't notice them right away. One day you just feel a little more tired. Then your grip feels weaker. You start sitting more often, and before you know it, your muscles have deconditioned. But here's the beauty of biology. Your body remembers. Every cell, every muscle fiber still has the blueprint of how it used to be. When you give it the right nutrients, it follows that blueprint again. You're not teaching your body something new. You're reminding it how to be strong again. I want you to picture this. Instead of reaching for painkillers every time your knees hurt or complaining about just getting old, imagine knowing exactly what your body needs to heal from the inside out. Imagine waking up one morning, walking to the kitchen, and realizing your posture feels straighter. You don't shuffle anymore. You're breathing deeper. That's what happens when B12 and D3 work in synergy. oxygen, energy, and muscle repair come back online. You're not just surviving, you're reclaiming vitality. The most important thing to remember is that it's never too late. Muscle loss is reversible at any age. Even people in their 80s and 90s have been shown to regain significant strength when these vitamins are corrected and gentle resistance training is added. And it doesn't take heavy weights, just daily movement. A few sit to stands, some wall push-ups, walking, or light stretching becomes incredibly effective once your nutrient base is restored. Your muscles will start responding like they used to. That's because every rep becomes more productive when your cells are properly fueled. You see, your muscles don't just move your body. They also act like an energy bank, controlling metabolism, hormones, and even immune response. The stronger your muscles, the more stable your entire system. That's why losing them feels like losing your health, and rebuilding them feels like getting your life back. And you don't need complicated protocols or exotic supplements. Just correcting these two simple vitamins can trigger the shift your body's been waiting for. If you've been feeling weaker lately, if your clothes fit differently, if you've been sleeping poorly or waking up tired, this might be your signal. Don't ignore it. Get your B12 and D3 checked. Start supporting them with the right forms and give your body a few nights to repair. You'll notice the difference not just in your muscles, but in your confidence, your balance, and your outlook. Because when your body feels strong, your mind follows. And that's the real secret to aging gracefully. And that brings us to something that almost no one talks about, but affects nearly every senior who takes daily medication. You see, over the years, the body changes, not just because of age, but because of what's being introduced into it. Many people don't realize that the very medications prescribed to keep you healthy can quietly strip your body of the nutrients that keep your muscles strong. I'm talking about common drugs, the ones millions of people take every day, like statins for cholesterol, proton pump inhibitors for acid reflux, and even metformin for blood sugar. These aren't rare or dangerous medications by themselves, but their long-term use can silently drain your body of essential vitamins, particularly B12, D3, magnesium, and CoQ10, creating the perfect storm for muscle weakness, fatigue, and accelerated aging. Take statins, for example. They're designed to lower cholesterol, and they do that well. But cholesterol isn't the villain people think it is. It's the raw material your body uses to make hormones, like testosterone, estrogen, and even vitamin D3. When statins block cholesterol production, they also block the body's ability to make these hormones naturally. Over time, this doesn't just reduce your hormone levels, it slows muscle repair, weakens mitochondrial function, and drains your energy. And if that wasn't enough, statins also deplete CoQ10, a molecule that sits inside every cell, especially muscle cells, acting like a spark plug for energy production. Without enough CoQ10, your cells can't generate the ATP they need for strength, endurance, and recovery. That's why so many people on statins complain about muscle pain, leg cramps, or fatigue. Not because the statin is toxic, but because their mitochondria are starving for fuel. The fascinating part is that most of these symptoms get dismissed as just aging. Someone says they're feeling weaker, their doctor checks their heart and says everything looks fine, maybe even congratulates them on good cholesterol levels, but meanwhile their muscles are deteriorating from the inside out. what's really happening is a slow, silent nutrient depletion, the kind that sneaks up year after year until one day you realize your strength isn't what it used to be. And by then, it's not easy to connect the dots back to the medication that started the domino effect. But once you understand it, everything begins to make sense. Now, let's talk about PPIs, proton pump inhibitors, drugs like omeprazole or esomeprazole that so many people take for acid reflux or heartburn. On the surface, they feel like lifesavers because they calm the burning and discomfort. But long term, they create a hidden nutritional disaster. You see, stomach acid isn't just there to cause heartburn. It's essential for breaking down and absorbing nutrients, especially B12, calcium, and magnesium. When acid production is shut down for months or years, the stomach can no longer extract these vitamins from food properly. So even if you're eating well, your body isn't actually receiving what it needs. And without those nutrients, muscle strength and nerve function begin to decline. B12 absorption depends on something called intrinsic factor, a protein made in the stomach that binds with B12 to carry it into the bloodstream. PPIs suppress stomach acid so strongly that intrinsic factor production also drops. That means less B12 reaches your cells. Low B12 equals poor oxygen transport, low energy, nerve damage, and muscle weakness. And if you're also low in magnesium, another casualty of PPI use, you're dealing with double trouble. Magnesium is critical for muscle contraction, enzyme activity, and vitamin D activation. Without it, even if you take vitamin D supplements, your body can't use them efficiently. So when seniors take PPIs for years and start feeling more tired, weaker, or develop leg cramps, it's easy to assume it's just getting older, but it's actually the result of subtle vitamin and mineral depletion. The same thing happens with calcium. Low acid means poor calcium absorption, which not only weakens bones, but also affects the tiny calcium channels in muscle fibers responsible for strength and control. The longer you suppress your stomach acid, the weaker your muscles and bones become, and yet you'll never see that side effect written in bold letters on the prescription label. It's hidden behind scientific terms like nutrient malabsorption, or long-term safety not established. And it doesn't stop there. Metformin, a medication used to control blood sugar in type 2 diabetes, also depletes B12. This is one of the most well-documented side effects in modern medicine, but still rarely discussed with patients. B12 deficiency from metformin can show up as tingling in the hands or feet, muscle weakness, or even memory problems. The body's ability to repair and rebuild tissue slows dramatically because B12 is central to DNA synthesis and red blood cell formation. Without it, every system suffers, especially muscles that depend on oxygen and nutrients for recovery. Now imagine the perfect storm: someone in their 60s or 70s taking a statin for cholesterol, a PPI for reflux, and metformin for blood sugar. All three are common, often prescribed together, and all three deplete the very nutrients your muscles need to stay strong. Vitamin D drops, B12 drops, CoQ10 drops, magnesium drops, and the person slowly loses muscle mass, energy, balance, and even cognitive sharpness. And because it happens so gradually, they think it's natural aging. But it's not. It's chemical aging, a byproduct of nutrient depletion caused by long-term medication use. The most ironic part is that muscle loss caused by these deficiencies makes every health condition worse. Weak muscles mean less glucose control, poorer circulation, slower metabolism, and higher fall risk. It becomes a vicious cycle. The body gets weaker, so you move less. The less you move, the more insulin resistance builds. The more insulin resistance you develop, the higher your need for medications that worsen deficiencies. It's like your health starts spinning in circles, and the only way to stop it is to feed your body the nutrients it's missing. So what can you do if you're already taking these medications? The good news is you can protect yourself. If you're on statins, adding CoQ10, ideally in the form of ubiquinol, can make a dramatic difference. Ubiquinol is the active, more absorbable form, and it helps restore mitochondrial energy production, reducing muscle fatigue. It's not about quitting your medication, but balancing it. For PPIs, it's about reevaluating whether you still need them. Many people stay on them for years without realizing they were meant for short-term use. Sometimes, simple lifestyle changes, eating smaller meals, not lying down after eating, managing late night snacking, can help you transition off or reduce the dose safely under your doctor's guidance. And during that process, you can start replenishing the nutrients you've been losing. B12 supplementation becomes essential here, especially in methylated or sublingual form, so it bypasses the stomach and goes straight into your bloodstream. Magnesium glycinate helps calm muscles, improves sleep, and supports vitamin D activation. Speaking of vitamin D, if you've been on statins, you'll want to keep an eye on your D levels because cholesterol is the raw material the body uses to produce it. When you lower cholesterol too much, your D levels often fall, even if you're supplementing. That's why pairing D3 with healthy dietary fats and magnesium is so crucial. It ensures the vitamin actually activates inside your cells. Now, let's talk about why these nutrient depletions cause such noticeable weakness in muscles specifically. Muscles are high energy tissues. They rely on constant ATP production to contract and repair themselves. CoQ10, magnesium, and B vitamins are all essential cofactors in ATP generation. Without them, your cells start operating on low power. It's like running a car with the engine half off. You can still move, but not efficiently. Your body compensates by increasing cortisol to push through the fatigue, but that just accelerates muscle breakdown further. So it's not just one deficiency, it's a cascade that shifts your body from a repair mode to a stress mode, slowly eroding strength over time. One of the most remarkable studies ever done on this topic showed that when older adults with statin-induced muscle pain were given CoQ10, their symptoms dropped dramatically within weeks. Their muscle energy returned, their fatigue improved, and their sense of well-being increased. This shows that the problem isn't the medication itself, it's the imbalance it creates. Fix the imbalance and your body restores its rhythm. The same goes for those on long-term PPIs who add back B12 and magnesium. Within days, they start sleeping better, their energy picks up, their digestion improves, and they begin feeling like themselves again. There's also something deeply empowering about realizing that you can take control of your body's response to medication. Most people assume they have no say in how their body reacts to drugs. That side effects are just part of the deal. But once you understand the nutritional chemistry behind it, you realize how much power you actually have. You can support your body proactively. You can take the medication and still maintain your vitality simply by restoring what the medication quietly drains away. Here's something else worth mentioning. the gut-muscle connection. Many of these medications, especially PPIs and metformin, also affect gut microbiota. When the gut bacteria balance shifts, vitamin absorption drops further, inflammation rises, and muscles lose access to critical nutrients. The gut and muscles are connected through what's called the gut-muscle axis. When your gut health declines, muscle function declines too. Restoring beneficial bacteria through probiotics, fermented foods, and fiber can help reverse that decline, improving nutrient absorption and reducing inflammation that damages muscle tissue. And it's not just physical weakness that results from these deficiencies. Mental fatigue, brain fog, poor memory, all of these often stem from low B12 and D3 as well. The brain and muscles both depend on healthy mitochondria. When energy production drops, both systems slow down. So when someone feels weaker and foggier after years of medication, it's often not aging, it's energy starvation. Correcting the deficiency brings mental clarity and physical strength back together. Over time, replenishing these nutrients can transform how you age. It's not about living forever. It's about staying functional, energetic, and independent. When you fix the nutrient drain caused by medication, your body starts performing the way it's meant to. Muscles rebuild, energy stabilizes, and that constant feeling of fatigue begins to fade. You move more, you eat better, your metabolism reignites, and that's when your health truly shifts. This is why it's so critical for anyone over 60 to understand what their medication does beyond its main purpose. You can't fix what you don't know is broken. Doctors focus on symptoms, high cholesterol, heartburn, blood sugar, but you can focus on your foundation: nutrition, muscle, and energy. Once those are balanced, your medication works more efficiently, your recovery improves, and you start reversing the effects of what everyone calls aging, but is really depletion. The human body is incredibly adaptive. It's not fragile, it's resilient. It just needs the right raw materials to thrive. And when you're mindful about what medications might be removing from your system, you can easily give it back. That's when you stop the slow loss of strength and start rebuilding from the inside, one cell, one night, one nutrient at a time. And the most eye-opening part is this. What so many people call getting old is often just the body crying out for vitamins it's no longer absorbing properly. When someone says, "I'm slowing down, my memory isn't what it used to be," or "I just don't have the same strength anymore," it sounds like aging. But when you look deeper, it's almost textbook vitamin D3 and B12 deficiency. These two are so fundamental to human energy, balance, and nerve function that when they drop, your entire body starts acting decades older. What's remarkable, though, is that once you restore them, your body begins to roll back those so-called aging symptoms, not by magic, but by reactivating what was there all along. You can actually feel your body rebooting itself. And this is why so many seniors who think their vitality is gone forever are stunned when a simple nutrient correction brings it back. Vitamin D3 is not just about bones. It's about control, communication, and strength. Every muscle fiber in your body has receptors for vitamin D. That means D3 doesn't just build structure, it sends the signal that tells your muscles when and how to move efficiently. When those receptors don't receive enough vitamin D, your muscles lose responsiveness. Suddenly, stairs feel harder, balance feels less steady, your reflexes slow, and your coordination fades. It's not because your muscles disappeared overnight. It's because the message from your brain isn't getting through clearly anymore. Vitamin D deficiency literally breaks the line of communication between the nervous system and your muscles. And when that happens, the first thing people notice is clumsiness, stiffness, or fatigue, the kind of symptoms we automatically label as getting older. What's fascinating is how completely reversible that process is. When vitamin D levels rise again, those receptors reactivate almost immediately. Within days, coordination improves, energy increases, and even mood lifts because vitamin D also acts as a hormone that influences serotonin production. This is why some people describe it as feeling alive again. They're not imagining it. Their cells are literally receiving instructions again. Their mitochondria start producing energy normally, calcium regulation improves, muscle fibers contract properly, and the fog that hung over their body begins to lift. It's like the body's internal wiring gets repaired, and suddenly everything functions smoother again. Now, B12 works in a different but equally crucial way. It's the vitamin of vitality, the oxygen carrier, the nerve protector, and the memory keeper. Every cell in your body depends on B12 to make red blood cells, which are the carriers of oxygen. Without enough of it, your tissues start suffocating on a cellular level. You might breathe fine, but your cells aren't getting the oxygen they need to create energy. And when energy drops, everything slows down: metabolism, thinking, muscle recovery, even mood. That's why B12 deficiency can look exactly like aging. Fatigue, weakness, shortness of breath, forgetfulness, tingling hands, balance problems, all classic aging signs that in reality can come from one missing nutrient. The body's ability to absorb B12 drops sharply with age, mostly because of changes in stomach acid. The stomach needs acid to separate B12 from food proteins, and then intrinsic factor, a special protein, binds to it for absorption in the small intestine. As we get older, stomach acid production falls, and intrinsic factor often declines, especially if you've ever had gastritis or taken acid-blocking medications. The result: even if you eat enough B12-rich foods like eggs, fish, or meat, very little actually gets absorbed. Over years, this slow depletion starts mimicking neurological aging. You forget names, lose focus, trip more often, feel weaker. But it's not necessarily age, it's biology starving for fuel. The beautiful part of this story is that the symptoms caused by these deficiencies don't have to be permanent. When you restore vitamin B12 and D3 levels to optimal ranges, the results are often astonishingly fast. People who've been tired for years suddenly feel energy again. Those who've struggled with depression find their mood lifting. Some notice sharper vision, steadier hands, or better coordination. The body responds because it's built to heal. It's just been missing the raw materials. One of the most overlooked aspects of D3 and B12 deficiency is how they interact. These two vitamins support each other in ways most people never hear about. D3 helps regulate calcium and magnesium, minerals vital for nerve firing, while B12 keeps the myelin sheath, the protective coating around nerves, strong. When both are low, nerves misfire, signals slow down, and muscles don't respond properly. You might feel unsteady when walking, drop objects more easily, or even feel numbness in your feet or hands. Again, it's easy to call that aging, but it's actually a communication breakdown. The wire's nervous, afraid, and the signal say vitamins aren't coming through. Restore the nutrients, and suddenly those nerves repair themselves. It's almost like replacing a corroded wire with a new one. The connection to mental aging is just as strong. Vitamin D3 acts as a neurosteroid. It influences brain development, neurotransmitter balance, and even cognitive resilience. Low D3 levels are strongly linked to brain fog and forgetfulness, while B12 deficiency causes direct nerve damage in the brain, leading to memory lapses and mood swings. The two deficiencies together are a perfect recipe for what many call senior moments. But when corrected, clarity returns. People find they can remember things more easily, concentrate longer, and even sleep better because their brain isn't struggling for resources. The problem is that traditional blood tests often miss early deficiencies. The reference ranges used in labs are wide, meaning you can be normal on paper but still far below the level your body needs to function optimally. For example, a B12 level of 250 might be considered acceptable in a lab report, but it's often low enough to cause neurological symptoms. The same goes for D3. Many labs call 30 ng/ml normal, yet research shows optimal muscle and nerve function happens closer to 60-80 ng/ml. So when someone feels old, tired, and achy, their doctor might look at their results and say, "You're fine." But their cells are screaming for more. This misunderstanding leads to unnecessary suffering. People go years thinking they're just unlucky or aging faster than others, when the fix is as simple as replenishing what's missing. Once they start supplementing, especially with the right forms and dosages, the body starts healing itself. D3 works best as cholecalciferol, D3 form, not D2, ideally taken with a meal that includes healthy fats since it's fat soluble. B12 should be in its methylcobalamin form, preferably sublingual or injectable if absorption is poor. Within days to weeks, most people notice tangible improvements: stronger grip, better balance, clearer thinking, and deeper sleep. Here's what's really fascinating. Research now shows that low vitamin D and B12 together accelerate what's known as biological aging. That means your internal systems, heart, brain, muscles, and metabolism begin acting older than your chronological age. But when you restore those nutrients, you don't just stop the process, you reverse it. Telomeres, the protective caps on your DNA that shorten with stress and aging, stay longer when vitamin D levels are healthy. B12 supports DNA repair enzymes, helping your cells replicate cleanly. In essence, these vitamins help your body rewrite its biological timeline. The changes aren't just physical, they're emotional too. When your body's energy returns, your mood naturally lifts. Vitamin D3 interacts with the same brain receptors as antidepressants, boosting serotonin and dopamine levels. B12, meanwhile, supports the production of neurotransmitters that regulate calmness and focus. That's why people low in these vitamins often feel anxious, unmotivated, or down. Correcting the deficiency can restore not only strength, but joy. That sense of, I feel like myself again. And the shift can happen so fast it feels like turning the lights back on after years of dimness. You might also notice your sleep changing because both vitamins regulate melatonin production and circadian rhythms. Low D3 disrupts your sleep cycle, leading to insomnia or restless nights. Low B12 can make you feel constantly tired even after sleeping. But when your body finally gets enough of both, sleep deepens, recovery improves, and muscles repair efficiently through the night. That's when the real magic happens. Your cells do their rebuilding work while you rest and you wake up with energy you haven't felt in years. It's incredible how something so simple can make such a profound difference. Yet, most people are never told about it. They get prescriptions for pain, for depression, for fatigue, but rarely for vitamin replenishment. And when you think about it, it makes sense why. Vitamins aren't patentable drugs. There's no marketing campaign reminding people that low D3 and B12 can make them feel decades older than they are. But those who discover it and take action often describe the transformation as nothing short of life-changing. If you've ever felt like your body is aging too fast, start by testing and optimizing these 2 vitamins. It's one of the most practical ways to find out whether your symptoms are truly age-related or just deficiency-related. Because aging itself isn't something you can reverse completely, but deficiency, that's something you can fix right now. It's like lifting a heavy fog that's been sitting over your body and mind. You start to realize that the real you, the energetic, sharp, capable version of yourself, was never gone, just hidden behind low nutrient levels. And there's something empowering about that. It reminds you that your body still listens, still responds, and still heals. Every time you nourish it properly, it thanks you by performing better. D3 and B12 are the kind of nutrients that give life back to your system because they touch every cell, every nerve, every muscle. They're the silent energy beneath everything you do, walking, thinking, balancing, remembering. When they're low, you fade. When they're high, you thrive. That's not age, that's biology. And it's 100% reversible once you know how to feed your cells what they need most.